We're back with part 4 of our drift series, and today is all about creating a custom look and style. Now to do it, we bought a brand new body and have a bag full of accessories. So let's get building. Now in videos 1, 2, and 3, we put all of our energy into trying to get the car set up and running little experiments to see how the car performs. So now we're devoting all of our energy into the body. Now this is pretty stock the way it comes out of the box, minus the wheels and the tires that we changed for our carpet track. So let me show you what we've got. Now for the body, it's the Killer Body Nissan Skyline R31. This comes pre-painted and pre-assembled, which is a huge convenience for us because time is kind of the essence. Now, Killer Body has a lot of different styles. This wasn't necessarily our first pick, but selection and stock right now is pretty dang limited, and I think this is still gonna turn out really cool for us. So, that's our body, and we have a bag full of parts here. Now, our first plan of attack is to put on the magnetic body mounts. Then I think we'll put on the LED kit and then just start adding other accessories on there. This is not going to be an accurate build per se. This is going to be like a fantasy car. I think it's gonna turn out really cool. So let's do it. Now the first thing that we need to do to this body are put on the side mirrors because they don't come installed. That's the only work required on this body. So these are the Scale Reflex Gorilla mounts, the magnetic body mount set with magnets or posts that go on the front, sticking straight up, and then in the back, they kind of go out horizontally. Now I've never actually installed one of these before. So for the front at least, this little metal post is gonna go right over the post. This is gonna have to get shaved down a little bit. The diameter of this post is bigger than this inner hole here. Now he doesn't know it, but Brett is doing this wrong, and you do not need to sand down your front body posts. At least on the RMX 2.0 you don't. Now this little metal front dome piece, it's not supposed to go onto the large body post. Instead, it's supposed to go onto the body post cap piece that has a much smaller diameter, and it slides on there with no problem. So I'm gonna get these back horizontal posts mounted on the rear shock tower in the same hole that the old post came out of. I'm gonna use my shock shaft pliers to rotate the post a little bit because it's really tight. I got it tight where I want it, but it's just not straight where I want it. Now we got the back on there, but we're actually gonna do the front first and get those magnets mounted up where we want it, and then we'll do the back. Oh yeah. So there's definitely some trial and error to mounting these. The front's a little bit too low, so I'm gonna try to raise these cones up a little bit. I just realized that we should not change these mounts because that adjustment, that rough fitting was not accurate until we put these magnets on the top, because these mount under the body and they take up space. We better not forget that. Got an idea. I'm gonna try to use these other magnets that are for the back. I'm gonna attach them on the front. Ooh, right there and right there. And I'm just gonna push the body left or right until I find my center point. It's too far forward. I'm gonna bring it back a little bit. So with the front position where I want it and locked in with these magnets, I'm just using this silver Sharpie to outline the magnet position underneath the body. So now we need to secure these magnets exactly where they are. So I'm using the ProTech Clear double-sided tape to put these magnets in, and after you apply that tape, it's pretty tricky getting the backing off. So I use an X-Acto knife to just get the blade under the backing a little bit and then start peeling it up. Using the clear tape also lets you see through it, so you can see those Sharpie marks that I made are still on the body, and I use them as my guide. So for the back, I'm gonna do the same thing where I put magnets on the top to align everything up, but we're at a shortage of magnets. So I actually have a few spares thanks to this Biddy Design magnetic body mount set, so it helps you align the posts when the body's already pre-painted. Got all 4 magnets in there, front and back. One last thing we better do is put our battery in. So we're gonna have the correct chassis weight, running weight, and the proper ride height that we'll be using. So I think next we're gonna put in the LED light kit as the next item in the order of operations to get that bundled in there and set where it needs to be. So this is the LED light kit from My Trick RC. It is the Attack Afterburner 1402 vintage kit. So in this LED set, we have some mounting hardware and some zip ties. There's this Y splitter, the LED bundle, and then this is the LED controller. Now there's some instructions here that tell us to go to the website, My Trick RC, enter in the controller model number we have, and then we should get some instructions back. Now, an important note about this light kit is that it's for bodies that use 5mm LEDs, but this Nissan Skyline uses 3mm LEDs. Killer Body sells light sets for this specific body and all their bodies, but it's out of stock and we couldn't get it, but it would be most ideal to use with this body. So in order to make the LED light kit work, we're only using the light controller included with this kit, and then we bought separately all the 3mm LED strings that we needed from My Trick RC. In the end, we made it work, but we spent way more money than needed, and we don't want any of you guys making that same mistake. So the LEDs are all buttoned up in here. These little Schumacher sticky patches, or whatever they're called, work really well. I'm thinking to put the LED controller here on the roof, although we have a little bit of an issue. This is the Fused RC, the white roll bar set that you can put inside the body. I think we better install this in the body because it goes in these columns here where we may need to run these LED wires. So we better figure this out and then finish those wires. Let's see how this goes. So it looks like it just mounts using some double-sided tape. So with this roll bar set, it's the version 1, and we have a piece that goes in the back window. These two pieces, I believe they go like that. They go in the front window. There's two more side pieces that go on the side columns for the window. And then there's also this triangle piece, I believe mounts this way if you kind of have an exposed front end. It's called the bumper bash, I believe that's what they call it. I don't think we'll actually be using that. Oh, and this is part of that bash bar. That's what it's called, the bash bar. Now for this rear piece, it has these little triangles that go in here for bracing. I'm gonna super glue them in there. Super glue seemed to work okay. This plastic is also paintable if you want to paint these some custom colors. So on the bottom, you can see I put those tabs just above the magnets, also just low enough that the tab is out of the window frame, so you cannot see it. Look at that, sick. Looks so cool, so cool. So there is plenty of room up in the top here, and I think I'll run our wires, maybe the front wires in this channel, put our controller up here, run the rear wires in this channel. It should be somewhat invisible and out of sight. The only wire that will be exposed will be the wire going from the controller to the receiver. It's gonna dangle from the roof, just not really ideal. So to keep the wires looking really stealth in these window columns, I'm gonna try to use some of this really sticky 3M electrical tape to get it flat and to keep it black. All right, I think we're done. So we did put some electrical tape right in here. It's really tough to see because all the electrical tape is covering the wires, and it just looks pretty stealth. We also used a little bit of black tape up on the top, and now our receiver wire is in this channel and should not be visible, just dangling from the ceiling like that. A lot of time can be spent in this wire management to keep things clean. Whew. It's kind of up to you how far you really want to take it, but the main points are our magnets are free and clear to be mounting the body. Nothing should interfere with anything, and now we're good to go to move on to the next step. All right, it's the next day, and our roll bar pieces have settled a little bit, and they're not attached at the bottom. See how they can move a little bit back and forth? That is like that on the side pieces and the two front pieces. So we're gonna go ahead before we move on and just add a little bit of double-sided tape to the bottom roll bar pieces. Next, we have this Yao Racing spoiler to try to install. It's the Type A, I believe, because there's two different types that include plastic wings with carbon fiber supports. All right, so we've got two carbon support pieces. There are these little aluminum L-shaped brackets, two wings. One's pretty dang sporty, big old sides on it. And then this guy There's a lot less lines and angles going on this one, and it is a bit shorter. So the shorter length wing is almost the correct width of the back end of this car, whereas this wing is quite a bit wider. They hang out back here. The mounting points are out far on this longer wing. The mounting points are in tight on the smaller wing. So of the two plastic wings here, I really want to use this bigger one, but because the mounting posts are so much further apart, if you look at the back of the body, the mounting post, because it mounts back here, is gonna cover up our decals that say Nissan and whatnot. We don't wanna do that. So we're gonna use the smaller wing that mounts closer together in the back, and that should not hinder any of those scale decals. Now these are really adjustable, which is kind of nice, so we can adjust our angle. And when you assemble this, the screws go through the carbon fiber and then actually thread into the aluminum last. Wow, that is gonna be tall. Holy smokeronis. Now the wing supports are mounted to the body at an angle. It's raking forward, so it's limiting our adjustment a little bit because it's already raked forward. There's not much we can do about it. Moving on. It is hot in here. Woo-wee. All right, let's get brave. I'm thinking up next, let's try this Kyosho trim tape. It's 1 millimeter in width, and it's meant to be a decal in the body gaps, in your door seams, in the hood, in the trunk. So we're gonna try to lay this in those seams of the body just to give it a little bit more detail. Gotta really pull it tight when you lay it. All right, here's one door done. Door in the hood. It's just the smallest little darkness. All right, the body is done. We did a lot of little details to it off camera, which we'll reveal to you guys in a minute. Now there is one last thing to do to this vehicle, and we have some parts. So we have some tires and wheels, and this is from a brand new company called DS Racing. And in one of our, I think it was part 1 of this drift series, somebody left a comment saying we should bring in this brand, so we did. Now we're gonna use these gold 5-spoke wheels with some DS Racing tires, and we also have the color lugs that we want to go inside the wheel, and these are made in a bunch of different colors and sizes, so they should look super cool on the car. So let's build them. And now to adjust our offset, you basically just take this front piece and you align it up with the notches, the depth notch that you want for your offset. And the instruction says what offset corresponds to which notch. Kind of got hung up a little bit, and I just had to use a little bit more force. I think it's the chrome finish, makes the tolerances just a little bit tighter. So the back piece now, the notches just need to align back into the notches, which aligns the screw holes up. Dang, and that's it. That's one wheel assembled, and we have to add the 5 or 6 screws on the back of it. So these are the tires, and they're the LF4, and DS Racing has a whole range of different drift tires depending on the traction surface, and there's actually a little tire compound chart behind the wheels, and it's on the AMain Hobbies website too. What's interesting is that the directions are saying to boil water in a teak kettle and then pour that boiling water, I'm guessing boiling water, over your tires in a container for 2 minutes and let them sit or soften up, or you can use a heat gun and heat up the tires that way for 2 minutes before you try to install them on. I'm thinking before the wheels are heated up, ready to be installed, this foam needs to be on the wheel, ready to go. Okay, so we got a baking sheet here. We're gonna put our tires on that. Got a heat gun, which is extremely effective. I'm a little worried about melting these tires. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't warp at all. So let's do it. Sick. Ooh, it's hot. It's hot. Those tires slid right on once they were heated up. So we're gonna let those cool, but we do have these purple lugs, and these attach inside the wheels. So these are the purple, and they're the long. So it's saying if you use those scale lug nuts there, then you can only use a 5.5 millimeter axle nut. So the wheel nuts, you can see that? They're just resting in there. Guys, this was one heck of a journey, and I'm proud to say this is our finished, for now, Nissan Skyline R31, partially inspired by Mad Max and a little from the DeLorean time machine. Now up front and center is the RPM chrome intake and blower set. It attaches with 2 screws, and then it comes with a little template, so it's really easy to mount, and we didn't show it. Now these are the Sideways RC half turbos, and these two are identical. We just put them on both sides. Little tiny screws are included with these to mount them, although we originally used shoe glue, hot glue. We used hot glue. And hot glue was really hard to flatten out and smush. So there's kind of some gaps here. I'd recommend using really thin double-sided tape. Now there's a lot of air intakes here, and we were going to add some tubing coming from the back of the turbo and going right in here to the blower, but we just didn't have time, but that would look really cool to finish that off. Now this is the side pipe intercooler, the V3 from Sideways RC, and we just fixed it right there with some double-sided tape to catch our sideways breeze, and then pipe the wires in. There was a decal under here that we put them behind. Now right here holding the wires down, this is an exhaust manifold spring from ProTech RC, and it just kind of wraps around underneath. The spring I think is a really cool touch, and ProTech sells exhaust manifold springs in 3 different sizes, and we picked up all 3 to try to put some springs on here. Now this fused RC roll bar set hasn't moved or budged a bit since we put double-sided tape at the bottom points. We also used the Fused RC sticker decal set. That's where these license plates come from, as well as this duct tape sticker on the bumper. Now there's also just some random decals that I had lying around that I added onto the body, and there's a little buggy that I put on both sides to represent my love for the dirt. There's also a tech deck sitting back here that's just wedged in between the Lexan and the roll bar. With these DS wheels, or specifically the little purple lugs, they frosted over from the CA glue. It would probably be better to just flip the wheel over and apply the CA glue from the hole that's on the back side. Now lastly, we put the LED light set on the channel 3 for the transmitter, so you can just turn them on and off whenever you want. And we put up front white, amber, and double red for the taillights, which fills up the SQ1 controller completely. Of all the upgrades on here, that magnetic body mount set was probably the most challenging, just to make a little adjustment to fit it, make an adjustment to fit it. The LED light set, or the management of the wires, was probably the most time-consuming upgrade. Both of them are very recommended though. Overall, this is one unique body, and it may not be for everyone, but that's why this hobby exists, so we can all build the car of our dreams. Guys, thanks for watching this video. Go check out the links to all the items we used. They're down below, and if you want more RC, check out these videos.